Coming up in this episode, we move on to the wonderful Gleesons Landing where we spend 2 nights and we have a look at this colourful sunset. After our 2 nights at Gleesons Landing, we move on to Daly Head, and here we spend 1 night and shelter behind the bushes to keep away from the wind, but we listen to these waves crashing on the beach. I'm Mick, and this is Sally. Together we've been caravanning Australia since the 1980s, and more recently we started to put the videos together just to show you some of what we see out there. There's a lot to see in Australia, and we hope you enjoy what we have here to show you. You can follow us on our trips via the following social media platforms. If you like the following video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. In our last episode of camping along the Yorke Peninsula, we had ourselves set up here at Point Turton, and we took a drive out to the Corny Point Lighthouse, and from there we followed the tourist drive and had a look at some beaches between the lighthouse and Marion Bay. On our way back to Point Turton, we took a drive along Flaherty Beach. That was the last video, but as we move on in this video, we leave Point Turton and make our way down to Gleesons Landing. It was only a short travel day today, with half of that being bitumen and half of it being dirt road, but once we did leave the bitumen and hit the dirt road, it was a good dirt road, and it wasn't very long and we were down getting very close to Gleesons Landing. 6 kilometres out from the campground you do get this sign here, and that will tell you that at least you're on the right road heading in the correct direction. As we reach the start of the campground, there's many roads that we could take, and luckily for us the other day when we came down here whilst we were camped at Point Turton, we did have a look around and we had some idea of where we needed to go to the camp spot that we wanted to camp at for a couple of nights. As we were pulling into our camp location, the skies were blue and we were pretty hopeful for the weather, and it appeared as though it was going to be more favourable towards us than what we had read on the forecast earlier on. Yeah, g'day everyone, and welcome to another video. This one's actually part 4 in our Yorke Peninsula series of videos, so if you haven't seen any of the first 3, they're well worth going back and having a look if you're interested in coming down onto Yorke Peninsula at all, just to see what is down here. We moved this morning from Point Turton and come across here to Gleesons Landing. We were going to stay here for 1 night, and after pulling up here at the moment, it looks like we've probably change that 1 into 2 because it's quite nice here. We're sheltered behind a bit of a sand dune, not a real high one, but a bit of shelter there. And at the moment the weather's turning for the better and not for the worse, so stay with us and we'll show you a bit around what we've got here, and then from here we'll move on to Daly Heads before we go down to Marion Bay. We were quite pleased with the little spot that we'd found here the other day that we'd now pulled into today, of course, and this time of the year with the green grass and the blue water, it certainly makes for a very pretty location, and we were very lucky with the amount of wind that we were receiving, and with the way that we had the caravan parked on this camp spot, it sheltered us directly from the wind and gave us that morning sun where we could sit out in the sun with very little wind. For this period that we're on the Yorke Peninsula at the moment, of course it's winter time, so very different to the summer. Of course we've got a lot of seaweed on the beach as we've seen before, and it certainly makes for a different type of camping versus coming here in the summertime, but would be certainly nice to come here again in the summer if you could put up with the heat during the day and the warm nights, of course, but it would be totally different, and I don't think the water would be quite as rough perhaps, but certainly a different experience to do it in the summertime versus what we are now in the winter. No doubt, being a beach location, of course the summer period would be the favourite with most of the population, and of course then you've got the big numbers down here, so that's one thing that we are enjoying at the moment. There's no one else that will be camping right on our doorstep, and no crowd. We did have this lovely sunset on our first night here, and it was very pretty indeed to watch, and perhaps I should start to catch them on a bit of time-lapse photography in the future, but no, we certainly enjoyed this one. After our colourful sunset the night before, we woke the next morning and the sky was all clouded over, and it was quite thick and grey with cloud, and we weren't quite sure what we were going to get, whether it was going to turn into a nice day or whether we were going to get a bit of rain, but it certainly didn't look too good at all. It was quite a colourful sunrise in the end. But after all that had finished and the day progressed, the cloud actually cleared, and it made to pretty much a sunshine day, so it was just ideal to be by the beach. Even though the sun was shining with that breeze that was coming off the water, it was still a pretty cool, brisk sort of morning. With the caravan facing the way it was, as mentioned before, it was a good wind shelter, and we had no problems at all cooking on the Weber barbecue, with the barbecue being out of the wind, so we were able to keep good heat in there for the cooking. But we had steak and sausages for lunch, and after that was done, it wasn't very far away and we were off for a walk. From our camping location, we started to head back towards the entrance to Gleesons Landing Campground, and it wasn't very far from where we were camped that there was another site here. Not quite as big as the one that we were at, but I would think it would be quite big enough to easily fit 2 caravans, or certainly plenty of camping tents or camping trailers, whatever you wanted to put in here. From the camp area, there's this walkway that takes you straight down to the beach, and it's not very far at all, and you're right over the top of the very low sand dune and straight onto the beach itself. As we walk back to the camp spot on this one, you can see a better view here perhaps of just exactly how big the area is. As you drive around Gleesons Landing Campground, there's all these roads that you see branch off to the left. Well, not really so much to the left, but more so to the right when you're driving in. And you need to have a look at these roads and go down along them, because that takes you into all these camping areas. And as you first drive through, if you only stick to the main track, you think, oh yeah, this is alright, but there's not a lot of camp spots. But when you take these little tracks and go in, they only might go in 50 or 100 metres. And it'll take you to various size camping grounds, and some of them are well and truly protected from any wind if you happen to go down there on a windy day, and they all vary in sizes from reasonably small to very large. When we arrived at Gleesons Landing with our caravan, We continued on here and took the road that as it swings around to the left, and that continues down through the main campground. Had we turned right, and that's where Sally's walking along there now, it would have taken us into where the first toilet is, and that's quite a sheltered area and a lot of room there to be camping out of the wind and so on. You're not directly on the water, but certainly a sheltered area for camping. From that sheltered camping area, just as you come into Gleesons Campground, if you continue along this road here, you think, oh yeah, it'll be a road that goes down to the beach. And that's exactly what I thought, but that wasn't the case at all, because that takes you down to some campgrounds which are located directly on the water's edge. Now, looking at this campground here, it's quite a large one, and I reckon it would be ideal in the summertime when you want that sea breeze to keep you cool and you're a lover of water. This one would suit everyone. And for those people that want to fish, I reckon you go to the edge here of this camping area and just toss the line in the water and fish straight from the camping spot itself. If you continue along the road from that large campground that we're just looking at, there's another one again, not quite as big but very similar to what the bigger one was, and from there the road does continue down to the beach. Once you look around and become familiar with what the campgrounds have got to offer here, you've got a choice of sheltered to sandy to hard rock like here, and just so many options. If you're a keen hiker, Gleesons Landing is part of the Yorke hiking trail. There are 2 toilets within the campground that we found, and there are camping locations directly near these toilets. As the drone flies over the campground, you can see some of the camping locations as indicated by the arrows here. And not very far from where we're camped is this bigger camping location here that we showed you earlier on. Most, if not all of these camping spots are just not visible if you only drive in on that road and don't take the time to go out and look around. There are more camping locations here on this point that we're looking at now, but we just didn't think they were suitable for what we were after on this trip. The weather was really turning it on for us this afternoon. It was warm in the sun for me, a bit cool in the shade. Sally liked her sunshine, but it was just a matter of getting that fire going and moving around until you got cosy with the temperature that you were happy with. After a very pleasant afternoon sitting around the fire and enjoying the sunshine, the day was drawing to an end and it was going to be a clear sky tonight, so we thought we'd be in for quite a cold night, but it wasn't as bad as what we thought it was going to be, but certainly a very pleasant evening. Yeah, good morning everyone, and what a beautiful morning here at Gleesons Landing. We're about to pack up now and make our way over to Daly Head, so not a big drive today, but I think it's going to be windier looking at the weather forecast and what is here. Very pretty here, and unfortunately at Daly Heads we will be open straight onto the water, so we'll see how we go when we get over there, so we'll catch you over at Daly Heads. Only a short drive for us today, and a bit of water on the road from some of the previous rain that we'd had, but that wasn't a problem. It's a nice good hard bottom on these gravel roads that we're travelling on, but yes, only a short trip today, so it didn't take us very long to move from one campground to the other. Once we arrive near the campground, we come to this intersection here, and it's at this point that we need to do that right hand turn, and that'll take us down towards the campground. As we now arrive at the campground, we turn left, and that'll take us along the front of the campground, in between the campground itself and the water, and from there we'll drive along and just see where we're going to park ourselves for our remaining night. Well, we've completed the journey from Gleesons Landing over to Daly Head, so we're pretty well all set up now at Daly Head. Didn't take us very long, obviously, only being the few kilometres across, but we're quite pleased with where we are at the moment. In behind these trees on the rearward seaside, I suppose, campground, and we're on the road back there. Very little wind. The trees are doing a great job of blocking it out, so only here for one night, but the way it feels at the moment, I reckon we could have spent more if we wanted to, but just for one night, and then we move on to Marion Bay tomorrow morning. Most of the campsites here are quite large, and plenty of room for any number that you wanted to put on each site. Some of them are small, but most of them large, and the one that we're in is what I'd class as being very large, and it's soft underground, so I didn't actually drive in and turn around and park. We went along the road up behind us, and I reversed in onto the site rather than drag a tandem axle around and churn up the soft ground. So no, it didn't take us long. We're in here and set up, and very beautiful. There was a reasonable amount of wind today, and although it wasn't real that strong, it really surprised us how much these trees and bushes sheltered the camping area from that wind. For us today, the weather was forever changing, and before long we had a little bit of rain, but luckily for us that didn't last very long at all. As we watched the rain come in, we quickly rolled the awning out just to give us a bit of shelter, as it wasn't that cold outside, so we didn't go inside once the rain started with the awning out. We were quite happy to sit out and watch it fall. The rain didn't last long, and before we knew it, we were back to nearly all blue sky again. For those that have been following our series here of camping along the Yorke Peninsula, initially we bought a week's pass for camping permits, and that was $100 for 7 nights, and they were 7 consecutive nights, and they must be used as consecutive nights. And because we bought the weekly pass for the 7 nights, each night then worked out to be $14.28 per night. But with Gleesons Landing and our single night here, it's only 3 consecutive nights, and then we're back into a caravan park. So we bought single night camping or single day camping permits, and that's $20 per day. So where originally it was $14.28 per day, we're now $20 a day. Now, it used to be $10 a day not that long ago, and sometime last year, I think it was, they increased it to $20 a day, and a lot of people thought that was a pretty big jump, and I guess in reality, in principle, it's a 100% increase. But for the facilities that they've got on some of these, with these toilets and rubbish collection on some, but not all of them do have rubbish points, but where they have got bins, I think $20 a night is a fair sort of a charge, and we don't mind paying that. But no, $20 a night to camp here, and yeah, it's quite reasonable. As the drone now flies over the top of the campsite, you can see the bushes and little trees and what they've got planted there as windbreaks, and it actually divides each camping area up into its own allotment, and it's quite neat and tidy the way that they've done it all. It's quite easily seen here that the camping areas along the road there, which of course is closest to the water, there's no windbreak at all from the wind as it comes in off the water. As you look where we are, we've got that row of trees and bushes, and that stops the wind from coming in off the water. and blowing directly onto us. As with Gleesons Landing, another location that would be worth coming back to in the summer period. We don't normally comment on what other people have done, but it's very disappointing to see this camp location here, which is directly alongside the one that we're in, and how people have got in there with their four-wheel drives and just dug it up by doing wheelies, and the arrow here illustrates what we're looking at from the air. It also makes us wonder how people seem to think that metal tins and glass bottles and all those hard sort of containers want to burn in the fire. They just don't. So if you're in a camping area, please don't throw that sort of rubbish in the fire, because it's only there for other people to pick up. With the afternoon sun well and truly shining now, it was time for a walk to go down to the beach. At the northern end of the campground, there's this set of stairs that takes you down from the upper level of the camping area down onto the beach, and there's a number of steps to go down, but don't let that put you off. It's certainly well worth it once you get down there. As we made our way down the stairs and eventually came out onto the beach, there's this gravel area that you can see here, and that greets you down at the bottom of the stairs, but it's not too bad, and it's only there for a short distance, I guess is the easiest way to put that in. Bit of seaweed alongside it, but you really have to imagine this place in the summertime where all this seaweed wouldn't be on the beach, and it would look so much different and of course so much prettier. Once we've walked over that short rocky period, the sand was very clean, very soft, and it was really a nice beach. There was a few rocks about as we looked out into the water, and the waves, the strength of the waves coming in, they were quite big on the day that we were there. So it would be very interesting to compare it now in the winter versus what the waves are like in the summer, because whether they'd still be strong and big like they are in the summer, that I really don't know. Unfortunately, it was very hard to capture the height of the waves as they rolled in here, but certainly a lot of force behind the water. Is it a summertime swimming beach or is it a fishing beach? That I don't know. So if you've been here before, leave us a comment down below and just let us know what the beach is really best for. After our walk along the beach, it was time to turn around and look at those stairs and make our way back towards the caravan. Good morning everyone, and it's the end of another video, and we finished this one here at Daly Head, and it's been pretty good here, not as bad as what we thought it was going to be with the wind, and in behind the trees or bushes here in the upper row of the camping sites along here, it's been pretty good. So our next video will kick off at Marion Bay, and that one will be around Marion Bay, and it'll include Innes National Park, so really looking forward to that one. So until we get that one up on the channel, you take care and look after yourself. If you like the video that you just watched, give us a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of our videos, click on the subscribe button, and once you've done that, change the bell notification to all. That way every time that we do uploads to our YouTube channel, you'll be notified.